My boss announced I was being promoted at the company meeting. Everyone clapped. Then he added, "And since you're moving up, you'll be training your replacement. My nephew starts Monday." I smiled and said congratulations. What he didn't know was that I'd already accepted a job offer from his biggest competitor 3 days ago. I'd been working there for 6 years, built the entire client database from scratch, streamlined operations that saved them over $200,000 annually, created the scheduling system everyone used, designed the customer retention program that became our biggest revenue source. My boss took credit for all of it in board meetings while I sat in the back taking notes like a good little employee. The promotion came with a fancy new title, Senior Account Manager. Sounds impressive until you hear the salary. Exactly $3,000 more per year. That's $250 a month before taxes. Barely enough to cover the extra responsibilities they were dumping on me. Meanwhile, his 22-year-old nephew was getting hired at my current salary with zero experience because family takes care of family. I'd found out about the nephew 2 months earlier when my boss's wife mentioned it at the holiday party. She was 3 glasses of wine deep and talking about how excited they were that Trevor was finally going to have a real job. "He's been struggling to find his path," she said, touching my arm. "It's so generous of you to train him." That's when I knew. I wasn't being promoted. I was being replaced. They just needed me to stick around long enough to transfer everything I knew into Trevor's brain. Then they'd push me out with some excuse about restructuring or budget cuts or whatever corporate nonsense sounded best. So I started looking. Updated my resume that weekend. Had 3 interviews within 2 weeks. The competitor offered me $35,000 more than my current salary, full benefits, and a signing bonus. I accepted immediately and gave them a start date exactly 2 weeks after Trevor's first day. Timing had to be perfect. Monday morning, Trevor showed up wearing a Supreme hoodie and AirPods, asking me where the coffee machine was before he even introduced himself. No handshake, no eye contact, just, "Yo, where's the coffee?" Like I was the receptionist. I spent the entire week teaching him everything. Showed him my client list, my processes, my shortcuts, the system I'd built for tracking renewals, the spreadsheet formulas that automated our reporting, the personal relationships I developed with every major account over 6 years of answering calls at midnight and fixing problems on weekends. He barely took notes, just kept nodding and saying, "Yeah, I got it," while scrolling TikTok under the desk. When I asked him to repeat back what I'd just explained, he'd stare at me blankly and say, "Something about the clients, right?" Tuesday, I watched him take a 2-hour lunch. Wednesday, he left at 3:30 because he had plans. Thursday, he asked me if we really had to answer emails from customers because that's what the automated system is for. My boss walked by twice, saw Trevor on his phone both times, and just smiled proudly like his nephew was closing deals instead of watching YouTube videos about sneakers. Thursday afternoon, my boss called me into his office looking concerned. "Several clients mentioned you've been asking them to update their contact information. What's that about?" I kept my face neutral. "Just making sure our records are current. You know how people change numbers and emails." Wanted to verify everything before the transition. He nodded slowly, but I could tell something felt off to him. He just couldn't figure out what. What I'd actually done was personally call every single major client over the past 2 weeks. Didn't badmouth the company, didn't make it dramatic, just casually mentioned I was moving to a new firm and wanted them to have my contact information in case they ever needed anything. Most of them responded immediately. "Oh, thank God. We've been working with you for years. We'll follow you wherever you go." Friday at 4:00 p.m., I printed my resignation letter. 2 weeks notice, professional and clean. I walked into my boss's office and placed it on his desk while he was on a phone call. He glanced down, saw the header, and his face went completely pale. He hung up mid-sentence. "You can't leave now," he said, voice cracking slightly. "Nobody else knows how anything works. The clients, the systems, the processes, it's all you." I glanced through his office window at Trevor, who was watching YouTube with his feet propped up on my old desk, AirPods still in. "You've got my replacement right there," I said calmly. He assured me all week that he's got it. I watched my boss frantically start dialing client numbers as I walked out the door.